Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us as we do life together one day at a time.
Hello guys, how you doing today? So you're thinking about raising chickens. We have a little bit of info today on getting started and this info about raising the babies up, and just some helpful tips for people that never had them before. We all learn as we go. We always had them running around the yard. My grandfather had them running around. So we was just kind of used to having chickens around and roosters, and now we have how many do you think we have now?
I don't even know.
Maybe
We have 32.
somewhere around 32 plus, around that area. So guys, my wife's got some information on raising baby chicks. We're going to just try to do our best to inform and with the right information. And keep in mind, everybody's different. You know, a lot of people do things different, and this is just to help people that never had them around. So we're just going to help you figure out what you want and what you want to do. And later on, we'll probably get into different breeds, and you know, there's Rhode Island Reds, there's just all kind of different ones. But she's going to give you some information. I'm going to sit back and we're just going to listen.
We're just going to talk about baby chicks today, since that's where you start. So you need a little information about where to start with the baby chicks. So let's get a little familiar with some of the chicken terminology. What is a chick? A chick is a newly hatched chicken. They remain a chick until they're 12 weeks old. And then they become cockerels and pullets. The pullets are the girls, cockerels are the boys. But right now we're just going to stick with what is a chick. Let me make something clear. All chicks are not chicks. Some are dudes, aka roosters.
So just to inform everybody, you have to have a rooster to fertilize the egg. If you do not have a rooster in the flock, your eggs will not be fertile, so you can't let a hen sit and hatch out new babies, or you cannot put them in an incubator because they're not fertile. They just rot. So you have to have at least one rooster. I don't know
if you want to reproduce.
If
you're just doing it for eggs, that's fine. But if you want to reproduce, you have to have a rooster.
At least one rooster. But also keep in mind too, as your hens get older, you know, some hens lay longer. There's all kind of different hens now that will lay up to 3 years and keep going. But once certain hens start reaching a certain age, their production slows down. So therefore, if you don't have a rooster around your farm and you can't repopulate, then you have to go find more biddies somewhere, or you have to order them off the internet. There's all kind of hatcheries that you can order from. But for me, we keep a couple of roosters running around. Well, more than a couple. We got about, I don't know, 12, 15 of them running around. That way they we always got a rooster around. So if something should come up where we can't find chicks, we will take a hen, a broody hen, and we'll put her in a brooder box or something and let her lay, and then we'll see what happens.
All right, guys. So if y'all are buying chickens from a local feed store or an individual, and they say that these chickens are straight run only, that means a random distribution of chicks. They have not been sexed to determine their gender. So I'd be very cautious with this option. Some neighborhoods or even cities, counties don't allow the roosters. So guys, you need to check into it to see if it's allowed where you live, because they're tightening down on allowing roosters in certain subdivisions or areas. So check with your local area to make sure it's okay before you make the investment. If you buy a straight run, you could get some roosters, could get some chickens, and you're really taking a chance, because you could get all roosters, you could get all hens. You never know with straight runs. So be very careful with that option. There are hatcheries, like my husband said, where you can order your chicks and get exactly what you want. We prefer McMurray hatcheries online, and I'll put a link in the description. That's who we have used when we don't let the broody mamas sit and hatch them out. We use them. So you know exactly what you're getting. You can order the exact chicken you want. And I suggest that, like he was saying, you can get all kinds of different breeds of chickens. You may want to do a little more research in that particular area of what chickens you want, how long they lay, how many eggs they lay a day, things like that. So, you definitely want to check into all your options, because like I said, if you get baby chicks from somebody local, local farmer or a store, be very cautious if they have not been sexed and you get a straight run. All right. You got anything to say?
Well, I just getting back to what breeds of chickens that you want. There is multi-purpose chickens, egg, production chickens. There's chickens that are dual purpose. You know, you get egg production and meat out of them. It all depends what you want on your property and what is your vision for your flock. I like roll-on reds. They lay big brown eggs and they seem to lay pretty good. Some people, you know, are changing to hybrid stuff and all that. I'm not a real big hybrid person. I like simple, and roll-on reds has just been around America for a long time.
And the Wyandottes are really good layers and stuff.
The Wyandottes, pretty.
And they're pretty.
Pretty eggs. I love the color.
And we love Americanas.
Americanas.
That's one of our favorites because they lay the little green eggs and stuff.
They're
and
good.
They're fun.
They're good production, and so that's basically what we have here. And we also have a mixture. I mean, I guess they roll in red, some Americana, Broad Rock, because we allow the flock to just kind of mix up a little bit to get a different chicken, and we had really good luck with them. The hens are they lay pretty good. So.
All right, guys, I know it's really hard, like when you walk into a feed store or something, to resist those precious little baby chicks. When you see them at the store, it's like, oh my goodness, they're so cute, I want to take them home. You need to resist that until you do a little research and that you have the proper things for them before you bring them home. Because it's kind of hard sometimes when you bring chickens home and you like have nowhere to keep them warm. And I mean, just be careful with that option. And one thing I want to caution you about, like, and please inform your friends and all too, never ever ever buy baby chickens for a child for Easter, because most of them end up dying because they don't know how to take care of them. They don't have the proper stuff they need to keep them warm and fed.
Well,
so that's one you got to be real careful with.
What happens is the chicken grows up and like everything starts getting bigger.
And then people don't want them.
All of a sudden you have this thing running around, you know, doing its business, and you have to clean up after it and take care of it. So a lot of parents are like, I don't want this now. So there's people like us that, you know, run into people, oh, I have a box full of chickens, I don't know what to do with them. And that's, I was there, I got stuck with a dozen at time in the box, and brought them home. We didn't have a coop at that time, so we just let them run around, play around. But they do get big. It's like everything. The baby pigs, they're going to get big. They're going to be 500 pounds. So it's like everything grows, and then you have, you know, you got to take care of it. So that's just a point.
All right, now guys, we're going to discuss some of the supplies you need when you're raising baby chicks. The first most important thing you need is a brooder box. You can buy a brooder box that's specially made. You can use a plastic box. You can use a wire cage. You can use anything, pretty much, as long as you can contain your little chickens in a safe area, that it's draft free, because you're going to need other things in the brooder box that to take care of these babies.
Well, certain times of the year, let's say if you get a bunch of babies and it's freezing outside, well then your brooder box, it needs to be insulated. You gotta protect them. You gotta keep them warm 24/7 when it's cold. Right now it's pretty warm, so you probably wouldn't have a whole lot of problems. It's probably a lot easier this time of year to raise them up.
Whatever you do and whatever you choose, make sure it's a safe option for a heat lamp, because that's the next thing on our list, that you need a heat lamp to keep these babies warm. People say, oh, in the summertime you don't. But inside of a box, most people's going to keep them inside when they're little tiny babies under a week old. You need the heat lamp.
Well,
this is one of the most important things that you need, is the heat lamp.
Well, what you want to do with your heat lamp is, when you set your heat lamp in your brooder box, you just want to make sure when you clamp it up and you have it, you want to make sure that you have enough room that they can run away from it. Like if they get too hot, you want to make sure they can get away from it. If they get cold, they can get back under the heat. And you want them to control basically that part of their environment. You just want to have it set up where they're not getting too hot and you're not catching nothing on fire. It's very dangerous. It's a heat lamp, so it gets very hot. It will burn paper. It will burn shavings, hay, whatever you put under this. You have to make sure that it's not going to reach its point where it's going to combust into fire and burn your brooder box or burn your chickens up, or even worse. So if you do use this, use caution and make sure you're putting your hand in there and you're checking the chickens and making sure they're running away and getting where they need to be. There are other ways to keep the biddies warm. There's little heating pads now. There's all kind of things out there. It's just what you want to use.
Yeah, because some of the options could be very expensive, and if you're just starting out and you don't know if this chicken raising thing is for you, you might not want to make the investment right away into all these warmers and things like this. Heat lamps are fairly inexpensive, but I suggest you use the red bulb with them, because the red bulb is better. They sleep better with the red bulb, and it keeps them from pecking at each other. The red bulb keeps them kind of controlled in there so they don't peck at each other, which is a good thing, because that's what little chickens do. Remember, guys, the light is doing the job of mommy now. They do not have mommy to keep them warm, so the light is keeping them warm. There are other, like he said, more expensive options to keep them warm, but that's totally up to you if you want to make the investment or not, or if you want to wait until you know more about raising chickens. You're definitely going to need, number 3 on the list is a thermometer. The purpose for the heat lamp is going to keep the chicks safe and warm at the right temperature, but how warm? If your chicks get too cold, they'll die. So week 1, your babies need to be between 90 and 95 degrees. Week 2, 85 degrees. Every week after that, you can drop at 5 degrees. Now that may mean moving your heat lamp up away from them. That's most of the time what you got to do, is move the heat lamp up until your thermometer registers the proper temperature for them. And like my husband said, they will move out from under the light if they're too warm.
Oh, yeah.
And they will get under it if they're cold. They'll huddle together. Now if you see them staying under the heat lamp huddled together, it's because they're too cold. So something needs to happen. You need to adjust the height of your heat lamp or whatever, but don't get it too close, because you can definitely dehydrate the little chick too real quick.
Yeah.
And burn them up. So you got to be careful there as well. So remember, guys, week 1 between 90 and 95 degrees. Every week after that until they're 6 weeks old, drop the temperature 5 degrees each week. So, one thing I do suggest is before you ever bring the chickens home, like if you're going to go buy them or you mail order them from offline, then know when your babies are coming. So get your brooder box ready and make sure the temperature is right before you put your babies in it. So yes, I did say mail order because you can get chickens in the mail. That we have done that.
But if you mail order them, make sure you track them, because we had a shipment. Matter of fact, the last shipment, somehow I had to go to the post office and track them down, and it took me a day to find them. But they were somewhere in Alabama lost, and they had to ship them from Alabama here. They had to go send another truck or something to get them back over this way. So make sure if you order them, because you don't want them on the road too long. You want to get them as fast as possible.
Right, and most of the time it doesn't happen. There are occasions we're having trouble with our post office right now.
It can happen.
But it can happen. So make sure you're on top of it. If you order them and you know you're getting them in the mail, make sure you're on top of it and you give them special instructions where to put the chicks. Most of the time they'll have you go to the post office and pick the chickens up.
Well, yeah, they call you and say, hey, your baby chickens are here. Please come get them, because they don't want to deal with them as long. I mean, it's they want to get them to you as fast as possible.
And they do set up the boxes when they mail them to you where the chickens are safe and can survive.
Oh yeah, it's really
for
cool.
a few days in the box.
It's cool to get them in the mail and hear them peeping, and it's cool.
So guys, remember, don't put your baby chickens in your brooder box without knowing the temperature ahead of time, because that's so important. Is controlling the temperature. That's one of the most important things, is controlling the temperatures for your babies. If you can master that, they should be just fine. So
and have fun with them, enjoy them. The more you interact with them, the nicer they're going to be to you. They'll, I mean, like everything else, the more you put into them, like with Dozer, if you're raising a puppy and you put more work into him, he's gonna want to put more into you. So the same thing with chickens.
yeah, Dozer is our big farm dog.
Yeah.
So guys, the next thing, number 4 that you need, is going to be a chicken waterer. So this here is what you need. Something like this. I have rocks in the bottom of it. I do that for the first week because your babies sleep a whole bunch. Sometimes you're going to wonder if they're dead, honestly, because they fall asleep so much just anywhere. They could be sitting next to the water and just doze off and fall asleep and drown. So the rocks in the water like this keeps that from happening. So make sure you put little rocks the first week, just as a precautionary thing. And I like these little waterers. Yes, you have to change them out pretty often because they poop on them, they do all kinds of stuff. But this is the right size if you have, probably 8 chicks. This is the right size for them.
So what you do is you just take your rocks out, you fill your thing up, you make sure everything's washed good and scrubbed good. Boop. And you just take the
And
rocks.
the water flows down. You put the rocks in there, make sure they're, put spaced out nicely where the babies can drink freely and not drown.
So here's your little bird coming up. So what you want to do, every one of your little birds, you want to kind of grab them softly and just put a couple of their beaks in the water so they know that's water. And then you just and once 1 or 2 of them gets it, they'll all will get it. They'll know, oh, that's water.
Show them the position of your finger, like how you get it behind their head.
Yeah, you just put
and just make them
behind their head, and you just kind of
just touch their beak to it.
Kind of touch it a few times, and then let that one go. Grab your other one. Kind of do the same thing.
Most of the time, if they see 1 or 2 drinking,
yeah, we never had any issues with that. But this is a good practice to put the rocks so they don't drown. Like if they coming up, they don't fall in there. and just lay in the water and drown. So it's a good process to do.
Yeah,
When
after
they're-
the first week,
yeah,
they're not going to
they-
be
you
sleeping
know, when they-
as much.
when it's small, and then you can upgrade stuff. You know. So.
All right, guys, number 5 is chicken feeders. There's different types of chicken feeders. I like the little one with the mason jar. It works really well for the babies. It doesn't get in their way while they're jumping around in there. You just fill it up with baby chick starter food, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But this is a feeder, this is a feeder, and this is a feeder.
This one's kind of like when they get a little bit more juvenile. You know, you put your food in here and you snap it shut, and you know they'll do their thing. And then same thing here. You fill this up, put this on here, and you're just gonna twist it on there and turn it up, and the feet just gonna go in there, and they're gonna.
All right, guys, one thing I want to caution you about, though, like this little one here, if they eat out of that one, they will poop in it and stuff like that. So that's one reason we don't really like using that type.
I would go with this for what the first few weeks we go
Yeah.
with this. It's safer. It's it's easier to keep clean. The food's in here until they eat
And they
it.
do have the plastic ones too.
They do have the plastic ones.
And
We
they're
just- we
very
have-
inexpensive.
We have some old stuff that we just use, And sometimes you can go to garage sales and there's just stuff in
garage
garage
sales,
sales.
thrift stores.
Yeah, sometimes you can find it for $1 or something.
Right. If you're
Yeah.
thinking about raising chickens, you can get these things ahead of time and you'll be set up.
Yeah.
And that's what I do a lot of times. I'll get things for our animals because we have several from thrift stores. And pick up that little water over there one more time. They do have the feeders that look just like that have the little round thing on the bottom, like the feeder with the mason jar, so they can
Yeah.
eat out of that. And they're super duper inexpensive, the plastic ones. I mean, even if you get them at a feed store, they're only a few dollars most of the time
Yeah.
for the baby ones. But I suggest you buy the baby one, and then a few weeks later, you're going to need a little bit bigger while they're juvenile. And then we'll discuss that at a later date. Right now, like I said, we're talking about mainly the little babies. What do you use for bedding? That's number 6. Bedding inside of your brooder box needs to be, like my husband said, like Mark said, something that you have to be careful that it doesn't catch on fire or get too hot.
I like the wood shavings. I
Yeah,
don't
the
like
cedar shavings is
cedar-
the best,
It
I
kind of
think.
it helps absorb stuff. And it's easy to clean. You can
The smell stays down.
put a piece of cardboard down first and put the shavings, and all you gotta do is fold it all up and dispose of it. I really like the shavings, but you don't have to if you don't have none around. You can use pine straw or whatever, but the straw and the hay gets kind of nasty, and with the heat light and stuff, I think you got more chances of something happening. So I like the shavings.
I do too. I love the
I would
cedar
go with
chips.
the chips.
But like you said, some of the good choices, depending on your type of brooder box and your preference with what you want to use, is the cedar shavings, the pine shavings, a straw, and there's even hemp bedding that you can use. Bad choices that you do not, I can't repeat this enough, do not use cat litter.
No.
Do not use shredded newspaper,
No.
and do not use paper towels.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No.
I mean, because they'll start tearing up the paper towels and newspapers and ingesting it, and
It
that's
makes a
something
mess.
you don't want, and it's really nasty.
Yeah.
So, make sure you get the cedar shavings. Like if you do use that, it's fairly inexpensive. You can get you can get a pretty good size bag at a feed store for a good price. So, now we're going to talk about number 7. Number 7 is your chick starter feed. You have to use baby chicken food. They cannot eat or digest the bigger food for bigger chickens. So you have to use the starter. The baby chicks need not necessarily a grower to start off with. They need a starter because it's got everything they need. There's different types. You can get the medicated or the non-medicated, and there's also herbal alternatives if you want to go that route. So the chick starter is in a crumble form.
Yes, a crumble form.
So the crumbles are better for their little beaks. A healthy starter feed will be filled with a balanced diet of proteins, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals. So they need the starter feed for the first 8 weeks of their lives. So make sure you get a big enough bag that you can feed whatever number of baby chicks you have for 8 weeks with this food. Then they'll swap over to a grower food after 8 weeks.
Yeah, there's a there's a starter that is for the egg layers, and there is a meat starter if you're raising meat chickens. You just have whatever farm store you go to, wherever you go, just ask them, and they'll steer you in the right direction. They're going to say, oh, well, what you're doing and what you're raising, and then you'll be, oh, you might want to try this on them, and you just have to watch them. Ours, we go 8 weeks, and then we switch them over to the
Grower.
the grower, the all-purpose grower, and then we
Go from there to the next stage.
to the next stage,
But right now, all you really need to worry about is that starter food because you're starting out. But let me make sure you know this more than anything with the food, that the protein content should be between 18 and 22%. Make sure you mark that down. The protein has to be between 18 and 22% in your starter to have a good starter food for your babies.
Let me just say this. These big chain markets that sell a lot of food, the bigger the store, the less I like buying from it. I like my local little feed store.
Yeah, support your local people, guys.
Support your local feed stores. Support your local guys.
They might be a little more, but they know your name, and they'll help you.
If they're $2 more a bag, you're getting a good product. I know. You know when you walk in there and you're like, well, I need this and this and this and this. Then say, hey, how you doing? They know your name. They know that you're growing chickens, and they're willing to help more. They're not like these big chain stores. I like supporting my local guys.
All right, guys. Number 8 is a place to roost. Chicks need a place to roost as they get a little bit bigger. You can make your own roost for them. You could buy a roost pre-made, but it's important that they have something that they can get up on and roost, because while they're little, they're learning to get up off the ground to keep themselves safe. It's a natural instinct for them to jump up on the little roost, that little stick or whatever you're using. It's a natural instinct for them to get up off the ground so that their little bodies and selves are protected from predators and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's important that you have a little roosting area for them, but I do want to let y'all know, wherever you put them, they are going to poop. They love to poop when they're roosting, so make sure you do not place your food or water underneath that area. Make sure that you put extra bedding under that area, because like I said, they're going to poop where they lay. So make sure you have a good roosting area. So when you get your babies, what are they going to look like? I'm sure you've seen baby chicks before. What's covering their body for the first week of their life is called down. Just like a little duck, these fowls have down covering their little bodies. So they'll start, first off, they'll look fuzzy, kind of like a little fuzzy stuffed animal. And then they'll look, they'll start shedding that down coating and start growing little feathers. You'll start noticing their little feathers coming in. And it's a pretty cool process. After, a few weeks, and like I said, we're going to make another video on more adolescent chicks, which are then going to be, the girl chicks are going to be now pullets, and the boy chicks are going to be now roosters. But, I'm sorry, not roosters, cockerels. So, that's what the next stage of development is for these.
I'm gonna
little
grab one to
babies.
show them where we at with what we got.
All right, while you doing that, I'm gonna keep talking. So, if you're buying your chicks from a local feed store, or you want to know the age of the chicks, what do? Just ask the chicks to see their birth certificate. That's all. No, just kidding, guys. Just kidding. You look at their body covering. If it's down and no feathers, then they're under a week old. So you really don't want to buy chickens that are more than a week old, because you don't get that full experience of having the little bitty babies. We have teenagers now, so my husband's gonna go get one of the birds. This last batch of birds that we had purchased just brown layers, because the brown layers are good layers, and that could be a variety of birds. If you want to know who the brown layers are, which ones lay brown eggs, then do a little more research. So most places, guys, that you're going to buy chickens from sell out pretty fast. Somebody will say, oh, so-and-so has baby chicks. What's going to happen is everybody's going to come in, see them baby chicks, and they'll be gone in a day or two. So make sure you find out from whoever you're going to be buying the chicks from that they are, young chicks, and that they have them, because sometimes we've experienced where we thought they had them. We called, they said, oh yeah, we have a whole bunch, and we got there and they sold out. So just plan out your chickens and make sure that they have them when you go to pick them up, so it's not a wasted trip.
Okay, guys. Easy, girl.
Mm-hmm. This is a little teenage chicken. This is a pullet.
This is a pullet.
We have all pullets this batch. They start to look funny. Their feathers are weird. They're growing a little more into getting closer to the chicken age. They're not really a chicken until they're a year old. Excuse me. They're not really considered a chicken until they're 1 year old. So they're considered a pullet, until they're 1 year old, the females, and the males are cockerels until they're 1 year old.
Look how beautiful that is, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you to try it if you never had them and you really want them on your property, and you got a little farm, you don't have them. They're so cool to have, and not to mention every morning you can walk out the coop and grab you some fresh eggs.
Yep.
You know where they're coming from.
And if you're looking for layers and stuff, and most of the time that's what people buy chickens for, not pets. But if you're looking for laying ones, don't expect any eggs until they're at least 5 or 6 months old, because they won't lay until they're that age, and their first egg will probably be really tiny.
It takes time.
And sometimes you'll see a little blood on the little eggs, and that's another video, but the little bit of blood is okay as long as it's not a lot when they lay their first egg or two.
We just ordered these. So what we did,
I told them they're all brown layers.
they're all brown layers, so they all hens. So our egg production should be pretty good. We're gonna have some happy friends and family members, because we try to keep everybody with eggs, and
But one thing I'm going to say, guys, please, 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 that's what this video is about. Educate yourself. Educate yourself about what you're getting, and that's with any live animal, because they're live little critters, and they expect you to take care of them. You now become their parents, and they totally depend on you. So baby chicks are so adorable, and they're a whole lot of fun, but my prayer is that you take this chicken raising thing serious, that it's not just, oh, let's get some chickens, and then a few weeks later when they're not so cute no more, because they go through a pretty ugly stage, I'm going to be honest, and then you're like, I don't want these things. So please make sure, guys, that you're ready for them, and you really, really want them, and you're really ready for the challenge of raising them, because they're a lot of fun.
well, too, this bird as simple as they are, they can be complicated too. They can come down with stuff, you know, and you gotta know what to look for.
That's what we say, and educate yourself. We'll make additional videos in the future.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. More we can tell y'all in 30 minutes. There's a lot to it. We're still learning.
You're always learning.
We're still learning about everything, you know, about the chickens, about everything that we're doing. The goats, we're still learning.
Different kind of diseases
a
and
lot
things.
of people, a lot of people are scared to get them, and don't be scared. They're fun. If you're gonna put your heart into it, though, that's what you got to do. You got to put your heart into it.
And then the great thing about these little babies is that you might have made an investment in them, but they'll give back. It's an investment that pays back.
Oh, yeah.
You'll get eggs, nice fresh eggs, and I'm gonna tell y'all, these are gonna be way better than anything you buy from the store. I promise you.
Oh yeah.
So look for future videos to kind of explain things. Hopefully we'll have the next stage of your chicken raising out by the time you get to that stage. So guys, we thank you so much for spending some time with us to learn about your new little baby chickens and what you need to do for them.
And so these guys here shortly will be probably going to a free range mode. We're going to try to free range them and, you know, put them on some grass and see what they do. So,
and you see this chick right here is well, this pullet is very docile because we spend time with these babies. We don't just throw them in a box and say that's it and feed them in water. We actually try to spend a little time with them because that's when you get a really good chick, when you spend time with them.
Well, it's like everything else. You'll get a few of them. You're like, man, kind of like me, you know, ordering out 20.
They're very addictive.
They're addictive, you know, and they're cool. I like having them run around the yard. Just, you know, it's all about purpose and what you want, you know, on your farm.
Yeah, and guys, our chickens and ducks and cats and dogs and goats, everything loves each other. Pigs, we teach them to love each other. So, but you'll see that in future videos, guys. We thank you. We ask you to please hit that thumbs up button is what the like is. It doesn't cost anything to hit it. And subscribe. That doesn't cost anything either, guys. Just hit the subscribe button. It helps us get noticed more so we can do more videos and get seen on YouTube and our algorithm. So we just ask that you hit the subscribe button. Like I said, it's totally free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Share the video with your friends if you know that they're, or family, you know, they looking to raise some babies, then, you know, tell them about this video. We thank y'all so much for doing life together with us one day at a time, guys.
Thank y'all.